Okay. So now with the community, as we call it in synergetic terms. So the community, I suppose, you can look at it as the core of synergetic. So everyone's records are in the community, regardless in the community database, regardless of what group or constituency they belong to. Okay. So this visual I've got here. So basically, you've got your community member, and in their community record, you have their ID. So that's that one ID for one person. Yep. Their name, or their names, their addresses, and phone numbers, email addresses, etc. Okay. Then, depending on what group they belong to, and they could belong to more than one group, is where they branch out as far as their constituencies go. Okay. So what I mean by their constituencies are basically these codes here. So these are the constituency codes. That these @ symbols are the constituency codes of each of these groups. Okay. So you've got future parent @ PF, current parent @ PC. Then you got past parent is @ PP, etc. Okay. So they're all system generated constituencies or system generated codes that are, so they're not actually manually allocated. Those codes aren't manually allocated. They get that code allocated depending on what processes is performed. So if it's a future student and the application, as soon as the application's processed, that will generate a SF, so at future student or student future for the student, and then for the parents they'll get the @ PF for the parents, future student parents. The same as with a debtor. So as soon as the debtor account's created, so as soon as that's created, they'll get that @ DEB constituency. Okay. So depending on how they come into the community is their very first constituency that they'll be allocated with. Then as far as the students and the parent constituencies go, most of those, what they'll do is when they move from one group to the other, so when a future student moves into a current student, future parent moves into a current parent, the current constituency will replace the previous one. Okay, and the same with a past student. If they become a past student or a past parent, then the current constituency will replace the existing one. There will be occasions though where you'll have a parent may be a current parent and also a future parent. Okay, similar to, I think we had an example this morning, because they've got a student they've got a child that's at school already, and they've got another one that's coming into school. Okay, they may also have the constituency of the past parent because the elder sibling has finished school. So a parent could, in fact, have the three parent constituencies depending on what the family situation is. Okay. Then with the additional constituencies, such as your staff member, so you may have a staff member who's a parent, okay, a past parent or a current parent or a future parent, so they would have their staff constituency and then that parent constituency. They may also be a past student, okay, so you may have a past parent, a current parent who's a staff member and a past student, okay, so the alumni too, so you've probably got a few of those too, yeah. So there's situations where they will replace the existing, but there's situations where they'll have multiple constituencies. But regardless, they should only have that one ID. Okay. So going forward from live, you will find that they'll have the one ID with the conversion, and I don't know whether Iris, his name escaped me then, whether Iris is sent through. And did you know Iris was a male?
Yes.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
What nationality?
He's Irish. Iris is Irish. I know. No. Iris is. I think he's Mauritian or something. Yeah. Yeah. He's got. Have you spoken to him? Yeah. He's got quite a strong accent. Yeah. 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 Lovely guy, actually. Yeah. So getting back on track. So Iris, did he provide you with the conversions report? A copy of that. He hasn't done that yet. Okay. So what he'll do, he'll provide you with a conversion report between now and live, and then a second one at live, and there'll be a section of that report will say possible duplicates, because they'll come over from Maze like that, and and my understanding is that Maze creates a separate record. Yeah. So when they come across the Synergetic, it allocates 2 IDs for them. Okay. Not so much with families, but with staff. Yeah. Yeah. With staff and staff and past students and parents. That. Yeah. Yeah. So there's an actual process that we can do. They try to pick up as many as they can during. If the address is the same, exactly the same, or date of birth, if there's certain fields that the information's the same, and they can, 100% say, yeah, well, we need to merge these. Yeah. So, so there may be the possibility that there's a fair few of those that come across. Cool. Now with this example here where we've got board, okay, what that is that's a school. A school created, that could be a school created constituency. Okay, so anything that doesn't have a @ symbol prefix in it, that could be a school created constituency. So for instance, with the board, so you might call it the council or the board, or so you'd have so board. So you've got your board, you've got your board members, because they more than likely would be from different groups or constituencies. You could then create a constituency to include them in too. So, you might have some parents in there, some staff members, some past students, it could be a mixture. So they'll be in their community, they'll be in the database, community database with their existing constituency, but then to group them, you can give them that, you can create a constituency to group them into that one. If they're not in the existing database, you could create a community record for them with that constituency. So that might be their only relationship with the school. Yeah. Okay.
There's going to be some car, so there's nothing. So there's going to be those that
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's possible. You can create them as a community member and allocate that constituency to them. Yep. Okay. So basically, that just covers what I said before about the community contains the core details for all members of the school, no matter what their constituency is. With the community maintenance, which we'll go into shortly, that's used to view and maintain information that may be stored about anyone who's related to the school. So names, address information, spouse links, households, deceased, etc. So that's, you may remember this morning I said that with the students' address details, that's actually updated in their contact details, so their parents' details, because it's the parents' details that they're linked to, and those parent details are updated in the community. Yeah. Okay. So these are just examples of some examples of where someone could be more than one one community member with more than one constituency. Same again there. Past student and creditor. Then you got Sally and Bob there. Okay. Now you see what actually links these students to the contacts besides the relationship itself. So the relationship being the, you know, in this case the father-daughter relationship, is this address ID. Okay. Okay. And usually the address ID is the same as the address ID of the primary contact. So the primary contact being, if it's Mr. and Mrs., it'll be Mr. So the ID will be, but that's just the linked ID. So the student's ID will be different to what the parent's ID is, but the address ID will be how it's linked. Okay. As far as student records go, so the ID, names, addresses, phone numbers, that's all updated in the community itself. So earlier this afternoon, I did a change to a name within the student record, okay, because Mark wanted to see where that showed up in the maintenance tab. But when I made the change, it changed in students, but because it's linked to the community, it's actually in the maintenance tab within the communities where the change was shown. So what it was beforehand, what it is now, because that was community specific information, because it was the actual name. Whereas if it's things like their student IDs, legal information, international, if they're an international full fee, medical, it's that sort of thing. How house, campus, form, etc. All that would be updated in the student record, and then that would then display in the student maintenance section of the. And then you've got your classes. So your classes, which will be coming across from Timetabler. So your class code, start dates, etc. Okay. Now these are just the standard Synergetic constituencies. There's a copy of these in the one of the workbooks, which is pretty sure it's in the intro to Synergetic. If not, it's the community, either one, and it's just got a list of the constituency codes and a description of each. Okay.
Now that's having a foundation there, I presume you're talking about it.
These ones here? That's talking more about that foundations around your donors, so your donations or your pledges. So you might have, and some schools use it, some don't. So you could have where it's got governor, member, patron, and trustee. I don't think that's a very good example. So let's say it's if it's so bronze, silver, gold, platinum, something like that. So you could set the foundation levels, okay, and then when a particular donor reaches the maximum of that foundation level, they move into the next one. Okay? So it's so you might have 0 to $5,000 for bronze or something, or 0 to $2,000. So it's more around and that's why that's a system generated one, because you set the actual parameters. Thank you. Yep, you set the parameters, and then that does the rest. So that automatically allocates that to them. Okay. The same with the ZDN too. As soon as they become a donor, then they receive the at ZDN constituency. Yep. Okay. Oh, that's just some keyboard shortcuts, which they're in the they're related to not just community but across the board. So that's all in the workbook too. Okay. All right. So we'll log back into Synergetic. It's a beautiful day out there.
Yeah.
The sun's nice.
It's a cold morning, usually a nice day.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm just going to clear that.
Wouldn't mind it, just a little cold work over.
I noticed when I was driving up to the cafe, there was I went past the bowling club there, and the greens weren't green at all. They're like a sandy colour.
I think we have to go back about 8 weeks.
Since the last drop of rain. Last decent. Yeah.
But again, well, I know, again, defining decent is difficult because it wasn't enough to grow weeds on a cloud correlation.
Right. Okay.
We haven't had rain since Christmas.
There's a little bit of material to do.
We've had 36 mil for the entire year.
Really?
That's it.
You've had half a year, you've had 78.
36 for the entire year.
Last year was a disaster, we had 208 mils to the same time.
Seriously. And that was a disaster last year.
It was awful.
We don't have that problem in Melbourne. Well, that was, yeah, it was drier than usual, but it's coming back with a vengeance now. Yeah. My wife, my in-laws they're from Western District in Victoria, Warrnambool Way around there. Yeah, so she's got a few farmers and that in the family that are, always have their fingers crossed and everything. And yeah, not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. They're
So my son Bill called a header with a couple of mates.
Okay.
This time last year, and their first contracting season last year.
Yeah.
I'll say about 20 minutes from the Warrnambool.
Right. Okay.
But yes, as a father, I'm not guaranteeing we're involved in fighting some war. I just go, well, this year's going to be like.
Yeah.
Someone's getting something.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, it's been worse. It's definitely been worse around there than what it is. Yeah. Okay, so with the community database itself, there's a few ways that you can access the community database. You can access it through the community maintenance icon, okay? Or you can, and that's just a quick click on that and it'll take you straight into it. So there's no sub menus or anything like that. Then you've got under students, you've got the community maintenance there. So if you wanted to restrict someone from going from the community icon, so just having one less icon for them, you could actually give them access through the community maintenance, okay? Or the other option is if it's someone who's, say, for instance, just updating details of students and then they might be updating details of parents too, or contacts, you could give them, you could not give them access to that one there or that one there, but when they go into, say, current students, okay, I'll bring that up. When they go into current students, and say, for instance, if they're in the contacts tab, they can actually launch into either parent, okay, and this is regardless whether it's a nuclear family or a split family, by this little, what we call the ellipsis, this square here, and that'll launch them into community maintenance, okay? Only those they've got to access. One, they'll need access to get into the community, community maintenance itself, and two, they'll need edit access. Yep. But if it's just read access they need, yeah, or if it's read access they need, they can get that from the student's record anyway because it's already there. So they don't necessarily need. Yeah. The other way you can restrict it is by you can restrict their view by constituency. So in our lookup tables, there's a lookup table called constituency. Okay. Now you'll see at the moment this security meaning here is all for all, which means that if someone's got access to community maintenance, then they'll be able to access anyone's record there, regardless of what constituency they are. Okay. If one of these is changed to group, then that can be, so you've got two options, all or group. When one's changed to group, then you can then control which groups have got access to that. Okay. and then the others just won't be able to see any records that have got that constituency. Yeah. So there's another way you can sort of you can restrict the access to. Okay. So I'm just going to go through community just through the globe itself. Yeah. And then we'll get this community search criteria. Now you'll see it's a bit different to our other search criteria we've been in because there's a few different tabs here. So you've got your general tab, so that's if you just general information that you're after, and then you've got things like your prospect tracking. So this is for your donors and so forth. So down the track, if that's the way you're going to go, they could go straight to prospect tracking from there. Okay. Communication and events again. So any communications or any events that have a code could be tracked through here as far as, okay, well, who's been invited to an event with that code, or who's been communicated with within the community with the communication code. Okay. Past students, well, basically you've got your alumni, your past students. You could either do a search through there, or you could do it through the develop tab. I usually suggest to do it through the develop tab because it also gives them, there's just a little bit more information or more filters that they can actually search for through the development tab, and it's just past student maintenance through there. Skills and qualifications, again, if you wanted to search for a community member with certain skills and qualifications. The other tab, now this is where I mentioned this morning about I think one of the ladies asked about ex-school captains and things like that. So, well, you could potentially put it in the notes or biography section, or the awards while they're at school. And then you've got your checks and involvement, which is your things like your working with children checks, teachers registration and things like that. So that could also be done through there. Okay, but the one they'll probably use the most, those that've got access, would be the general here, and it works pretty much the same as your current student and future student search. Although what you can do here, because this is including everyone in the community, you can actually search by constituency if you wanted. Okay, so if you wanted to bring up all your current parents, you could type in current and then select current parent and then click OK. So it's telling us we've got 1,359 current parents. Okay. Now, the ones that come up in red here in the record, that means that you've actually selected, or at this date, in this instance, it's the first, because it's the first record in the selector screen. That's the spouse. Okay, so that's the spouse's record because it's in red. Okay, whereas that's funny, Mrs. R number, Mrs. Rachel number. You reckon they've typed it in and saved it? Yeah. Okay. Whereas we've got this is Bolt's parents, I think. Ackerman's, the two, Benjamin and Brandy. So you see in Benjamin's record, he's the primary, okay, because he's Mr. And then Brandy's record, she's the spouse, so hers will be in red there. Okay. If we were to clear that and just go okay, it'll be the same as our search in students where it'll bring everyone up in the community. So we've got 9,634. So that's all community members. Okay. Everything from creditors.
Well, you've got lots of siblings. So your siblings.
Yeah. How many we have? We had so yeah, 1,024, and then we had. Because I did notice there was a.
You don't have it. You don't have it. You've got 960. Unless it's got preschool in there as well.
It does.
The other preschool, so that would be.
Actually, well, that was a selection this morning.
Yeah, you've got negative. So with these, because Synergetic's numeric, with the code itself, it'll be, I think, prep 0. So preschool or kindergarten will be -1.
Yeah.
I think it went down to -3, actually, to be honest. Let's have a look. You got preschool ELC. Oh, so that's okay. So preschool.
That's the preschool, then you got prep, then you got kindergarten.
So that, it looks like it's including. You got 43.
Yeah.
Yeah, preps there. I did notice when I was checking it last night too that there was some of those left students were left from last year.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the ones that are left this year. There were a few that had left last year, but they hadn't been rolled out. Yeah, but that's easily fixed. Right. Yep. Okay.
Encourages were leaving last year, they've still got a left date in it. So we sent that in the record, but when we put that through, they're in red, but they shouldn't be in red because the left date was still in these.
Right.
But they haven't left.
They haven't left.
No, they changed their mind.
Oh, okay, but it
we
wasn't
had
changed
there,
in.
so
Yeah.
we had a record of
Okay.
when it may or may not happen.
Did that happen after that? After the conversion was done, though?
No. So they're up in red, but they're
Yep.
actually here, and they're not left.
And they're not left.
But they're in red because there's a leaving date in there,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, they would have. That's the only reason they would have come up. Yeah, but I was thinking if they had a leaving date in May's, but then that leaving date was taken out after the. No? Okay. Okay, so with our community maintenance, I've just gone back into our community maintenance again. Go back down here. Okay, I've just gone back in our community maintenance for our current parents. Okay, now the first tab that it defaults to is the constituency tab. Okay, so you'll see it's got in this case they're a current parent and a future parent. Okay. So if I went to the relations tab, the relations tab works the same as what it does in the current and future students. It'll obviously give you all the relations there. So we've got Rob and Harry as Rachel's son, Heidi and Rose. So this, because we don't, this one here hasn't been, that's right, yep, the husband of, so the husband, the son, the daughter and the daughter. Yep, so there's 2 current students and 1 future. Okay, so that's why, Mrs. R or Rachel has got the 2 constituencies there. Yep, and you'll see this is grayed out here, so we can't just delete a constituency. If it's a system generated one, it won't allow us to delete it. Okay.
And with Rob's one.
Yep. So with Rob's one there. So if I went into, if I go back into my relations, and then I'll go into Rob's. Okay, so there's Rob's record. So he's got the debtor constituency there too.
So he's a staff member, so none of those would.
So that hasn't come up. See, there's a perfect example. Yeah, yep. So I would say.
Well, that's only got to be a manual process for us because it's not linked anywhere in the.
Okay, yeah. Right. Yeah, but I'll go through that process anyway in live week. Yeah, and it's as long as we can. They're pretty simple. If we can merge. If we merge the staff record, so the staff record, because this is a debtor record. Sometimes if you've got 2 finance related records, it won't allow you to merge them until you got to do a couple of things in the background before you can do it. But it's doable anyway.
Also, does that simply mean that we turn Rachel into the debtor?
No.
Rob as the staff member.
No, you could leave her as the debtor.
You need to have them as showing all the relationships. That's the whole point of having only one person.
So we can turn Rachel into a debtor instead of just being a current parent.
Well, see, she is a debtor. That's the way Synergetic works. Even though, like the bill itself or statement might go out to Mr. and Mrs. as debtors, yeah. it only although they're both debtors, it only allocates the debtor constituency to the primary person. So in this case, Rob. Okay, unless otherwise, if it's a 50,
as the primary.
yeah. But if it's a split bill situation where it's a manual split bill, then going forward, that would, so for instance, if they were a split family, or if they weren't and they just for some reason they requested that 50-50, then they would both have the debtor constituency because it'd be two separate bills. But in this case, because it's Mr. and Mrs. And it's Mr. and Mrs. nuclear family, then he's the debtor. He's classified as a debtor. Well, they're both classified as debtors, sorry, but he gets the debtor.
Mark thought it was a very clever system. I think he made some smart comments. Matt said that.
So with Rob here, okay, Rob being, was that Rob that was here? No, that's Rod, isn't it? Rod, yeah. So with Rob here, if I went back in, and because I searched under current parents, he obviously came up as a current parent, but only one of his records come up because the staff record didn't come up because I'd restricted to current parent. So if I cleared that and put in, it should be enough, let's say. Marchetto, here we go. Yep, so there's his staff record.
Yeah.
Okay, so his constituency there. So he's actually got an ID of 10533, and then he's got that other ID there of 3630. So we would, for that one, we would more than likely, actually staff, it shouldn't be too bad because there's no, because you're not doing payroll through there. Yeah, so I think we'd be able to merge the staff into the debtor one. If there was a payroll there, or if he had a creditor, then it makes it harder. Yeah.
So
I might try it.
If we do that down the track,
We have to do it after we go live because it's not linked in May, so
Yeah.
we can change them all now. But once they do the next backup, everyone does all of that because it's not there. So we'll reconcile it, so we'll know the ones that have to be fixed.
Yeah, so that's why that's come up like that.
Matt will work his magic.
And you got the address unknown there, so it's picked it up that there was no address, although I assume that's his address there.
Yeah, this is all address.
So within that,
Let's change the address to this.
actually, so I'll show you this. Have they given it to us here? Oh no, they wouldn't have actually, not under phone. Sure. Yeah, so now we can see that he's actually got two. So yeah, Lisa, there might be quite a number of those.
There will be a few.
Yeah. But we can, definitely fix those. Okay. So that's where all the name information's held for the community member. Okay. And you've also got the option to, so for instance, if it's a creditor, you could create it as a company or a personal company. Okay. Click on this other one. So home address, we've got home address information there. We run this through, so this has been run through a validation tool. Are you using one at the moment in Maze? No? Are you going to use one going forward or not going to? Yeah. Yeah, I can check that anyway, see whether that was part of it. Yeah. So there's the and then it won't allow them to put in an address unless it's a valid address. So if someone's typing in an address, either they're typing it in incorrectly or it's being given to them incorrectly. This is future addresses.
There won't be any typing in.
No.
There will be for staff. There won't be for family.
Oh, sorry, not for new future students. There won't be, no. Yeah, that's right. So they'll be.
How does all that work with property names?
The way it works with property names is you've got your property name will be on the first line. Yep. And then you'll have your, so if it's RMB 6,000 or, Bradman or something like that, or yeah.
So Roseview's the place.
Roseville's the
Roseview.
Roseview's the actual
What
property.
if I don't put in Roseview 217 Fairs Road? I just left 217 Fairs Road off and just got Roseview. Again, remember,
yeah.
it's going to be a future.
Well, that will, if it's a future parent that puts that in, because at the moment there's the quality address tool is not linked to the form at this stage. Yeah, so they could potentially put in the wrong address, but yeah, incomplete address. But then when the registrar whoever's going to be checking the submissions before they before they actually they accept it or approve it, then there's a chance, hopefully they'd pick it up there and go, well, hang on, there's no full address here. It's just got the property name and that's it. Yeah, but it should, so there should be enough lines in there to have your property name, your address. Yeah. We had an issue with that with one of the school that I think I mentioned earlier. It was in Orange that I went to, and but they were in Denby. They come across from Denby, and it didn't pick up a lot of the property names didn't come across, and it's a nightmare to fix. But hopefully, it's not going to be an issue with Maze. And it was random too. It was picking up some, and it was not picking up others, and.
All the pretty stuff. So
We'll look at mine.
Yours.
That's you there, Hugh?
Yeah, it is.
You've only got the one by the looks of things?
Yep. Yes, I've got it.
Yeah, so your property name hasn't come across.
But it depends whether you had your property name in mind or not.
So try yours. Try you.
You haven't come across at all? No, I think
Alex, no.
Oh, I'll put it in there. Sorry. You've got two there too.
Yeah, because I was staff member of parent.
Actually, so that's another one there, but that's not you?
Well,
Or there was a record, there's just nothing on that one, not even a constituency by the looks of things. But there's your record there.
last year. Oh, two.
But again, that hasn't come across. Okay, we'll need to make note of that because I'll have, and that's definitely in Maze.
Search one more while we're there.
Yep.
Try Buster.
Buster's the surname.
Buster's the surname.
Oakland, so that one's come across.
Yeah, okay.
So
Oh, well, maybe mine's not on.
be worth checking, and they should be in the same spot in Maze, you would think, wouldn't you? Have you got access to Maze here? Is the head cold starting to get to you?
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
My husband said you have to have day off this week. I said, no, no, I ain't gonna
Let,
happen.
let me think of it.
Dream on.
Yeah, so that one's come across. Okay. Oakland's R&B. Hmm? Oh, that's right. We can check it later anyway. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just with the home address, if they're coming across from at this stage, if they are going to be coming across from the auto submission, then they'll have to be checked at approval stage. Yep. Okay. Postal address the same too. Yep. So if they don't, yeah, if it's if the postal address is the same as the home address, then they obviously don't have to. There's a in the form it says the address the same as postal address the same as home. If they tick yes, then that's fine. They don't have to obviously fill out.
Down the line of linking the addresses to the forms, like so you can't put it on.
Yeah, yep. So having the what was it? They used to call it the rapid address tool. Yeah. So that's the plan. They'll have the rapid address tool linked to the form itself. Yeah, because there is a web version of it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So phone numbers including the email address here, so their home email address. Okay. And you'll see in this case here with so this is it's Stephen, is it? Okay, so if I go into Stephen's here, okay, Marie had hers. So she's got, okay, so Marie's got her home, that's her home email there. Her default email, though, is her occupation email. So she's chosen her occupation email to be her. Okay, yep.
And so
are they both staff members, are they?
No.
No, Stephen's not.
And then home phone coming across without an area code. Is that just the way we've got it?
It would be, that would come, yeah, if there was an area code in there, it would come across, yeah.
Only if it's not New South Wales.
Yeah. Yeah, so if it's not New South Wales and it's in Mays, that'll come across. Or if it's an international number, yeah. And even international numbers, if it's an international number, it's been put in Mays, that'll come across. So it'll come across as is. Yep. So yeah, so with this one here, okay, what are we doing? That was Maria, wasn't it? Yep. Okay. So see her email address is there, occupation email, default email, occupation address. So her occupation email, according to this, is steveb@darlingsfarm.com.au. Would that be right? Because wouldn't you think it would be her staff?
We don't determine, like, occupation email is in Mays.
So then where is it picked? It's picked his email address up there then, by the looks of things. So there's no.
It was different to his.
So he doesn't have a occupation email there, but he's got that IINet email as his home email. Then you've got that's for Maria, her home email. But then it's got steveb@darlingfarms.com.au as her occupation email. So I think that's picked that up from his record as opposed to hers and overwritten her staff, unless she's changed that.
Because that's where their books will be done. So any pay slips or that sort of thing. Bit complicated family.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll check yours, Hugh, and we'll see. Okay, so that's your occupation email there. That's your home email. And there's your. So that's your home email there. Well, that's your occupation email, and it's in your home. So it's.
But there's no field in Mays
to have an occupation email.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but it's somehow it's flicked the occupation email. So what would be in Mays at the moment as Hugh's email address then?
Well, it's going to have both those by the looks.
Yeah, it must have picked them up from. It's picked both up from somewhere.
Because what does it say?
And that would have been where your old payroll one was.
Yeah.
That's where you used to get your pay slips too.
Correct.
So that's on your staff one.
Yeah. Because what's PCOC?
PCOC is parent contact other contact.
Yeah, okay. Because
So that means you're that's a past student other contact. There's parent contact, other contact too. So past student other contact,
Yep.
then you're a staff member, and then you've got your payroll there. Yeah, so it looks like it's picked up that.
So, in the time prior to live, so again, can we still make changes? When do we make changes within this carry through to live? Or is it only
You can still keep making changes in Maze. If the information is incorrect in Maze or it's in the wrong spot, then you can change it in Maze.
Have done until we get 17th of August, you can't do anything else.
But if it's stuff like this, where it may have been that it's been when the conversions come across, it's gone in the wrong spot in Synergetic, then that's a matter of getting in contact with the converter and saying, look, Iris, this needs to go. This is happening, and here's, give him 3 or 4 examples.
Yeah.
It needs to be like this. The actual whatever field it is in Maze should be feeding through to this field in Synergetic. Yeah, so it's picking up those two. So would that be picking up your? Would it be picking up your work email, your occupation email address from the pay?
Yeah, well, I think it's however it's doing,
it's reversing. Yeah, it's reversing them, but then where's it picking the two up from? What one's in your Maze, and has he brought the others across from the
Can you please Maze it? Or am I rerun properly?
Oh, no, you do that.
I'll have a look at Alex's.
No, I can't get into Maze on my MacBook, but I should be able to, shouldn't I?
See, Alex's looks correct. You got your occupation email as alex.new. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got to be installed.
So that one's fine.
Yes.
The icon's there, but it doesn't do anything. Okay.
And her default email is her occupation.
I can't get it on any of these machines here. On the desktops? Okay, I'll try desktop. Just trying to check some data. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
So your one's come across fine, Alex. You've got your occupation email in your occupation tab.
And my home one.
And your home one, which is alexandra.new3 at Big Pond in your home one.
Yeah.
So I'll change this to staff.
Yeah, you've got him. Right. Yeah. I do. Yeah. I don't think I am, simply because I have no guarantee of the performance of the vehicle being the same post as prior. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Bye. Yes.
Yeah, it seems to be a mixture. There's some that are coming across okay, but then
some would have had that in their staff one as well.
they would have had their personal because they wanted, that was their choice to, for their pay slips. Yep. Okay.
Whereas these days, because Mark and Pay does some pay slips, I try and put this work ones
Yep.
in their staff all the time.
Okay.
So in my staff detail in BSP, it's only got a few cars at Callus.
Yeah, but that's because when we used to do it through
That's right.
Yeah, because there's some of these that we haven't even. We don't have we've only got the one address, email address, which is their personal, which is in their occupation. And there's others that.
Whereas their school email address should be in there. You know, otherwise we don't want them to be using anything but their school email.
Yep.
You know, child protection, blah, blah, blah. So that's why we're trying to have.
And for those that want to send emails through Synergetic, their account needs to be linked to their Cal Rossi email address for it to work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just won't allow them to. So there's another Gmail. Then that's Cal Rossi. Okay. So we've got, is that the same? Yeah. So she's Ms. there, and then she's Mrs. there. There's another one, Ray Wall. He's a past one, is he? Yeah, he's got his. So he did have his personal one there, in his occupation. Another one. Okay, well that's something we need to flag anyway. That's obviously But, okay. Have the qualifications? Yep. There'll be very few. Yep. So you got things. There's first aid in there. Okay. Nothing in there. Skills, that could be anything as far as skills go. What have we got in there at the moment? As far as adding goes, so it's very broad, and they can be updated anyway. That's if you wanted to use that, there's a lookup table you can use for that. Okay, so now the other tab, there's always a other tab, isn't there? So besides your religion, nationality, country of birth, etc., for parents and staff, if you need to keep that information, there's obviously your home language and that for census purposes. You've also got your network logins in here. So we had that network login earlier on. That's where you could store this, because that could be used. Your network login here. When they start using the community portal, that's what's classified as the network login, and their ID is their default network ID. Yep. So their ID is their default network ID, and then with their password's the same. Okay, so that's the default too. But then it allows you to do a batch load where you can just create random passwords to provide them with. So you've got the option to do that too. There's a barcode section there too for the barcodes if you want to. So that'll store in the same spot for those students. That'll carry across to their student record too. Okay. Notes and bio. So that's just all free format they can add. Yeah. Events, was that? Yeah. Yeah, events was one of you looking at events, weren't you?
Yeah,
Events and communication. Yeah, so basically works the same as what I said with correspondence this morning, where if there's an event that they've been invited to, that'll show up in their events tab. If it's a past event, if it's a past event, it shows up in their events tab. If it's a current event, in the current events, yeah. And the same with your comms, so communications. If there's any communications that have gone out, that has a particular communication code, then that'll be in your current comms, and then once that's closed off, it's in your comms. Correspondence works the same as what it did in students. Notify methods, that just allows you to, if there's certain information that they want to receive by a particular communication type, notify method. So it might be things like they want to receive the yearly magazine electronically or something like that. Yeah, you can make note of that in there. These are all your mail flags here. So these come into play when you're when you're sending out bulk mail outs, even emails. So these ones here are separate from the ones that are under the contacts tab for the students, because that's specific for student information, whereas this is more broad, yeah, like magazine and solicitation and raffles. They're all definable by you. Yep. You could decide we're just going to use the receives mail, because that includes receives magazines, etc. Okay. Then we've got our relationship tab, which it'll show all the constituencies of the relationships. So this one here, Mr. James Archbold, Melanie's son, he's a current student, and he said he was a past student at some stage.
Possibly in those days when they went from prep to kindergarten, they used to roll them out starting.
His peer year was 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why it's probably is that okay? They used to
They used to re-interview them.
Right.
So they were marked as left over.
As left, and then they had to
and re-interview and re-put them all in to go into year 7.
Okay. Yeah. So they don't have to re-enroll it all now.
No.
They can just go. So you won't have any situation where they're going to have more than one application or
No.
good. Yeah.
No. But he would have been one of the last.
Yep.
That sort of generation.
Because you can do it, but it just gets messy. You can have like a current student that's in year 5, but then has a future student application for year 7. Yeah.
We changed it so that we consider them to go all the way through.
Yeah.
Rather than give them knocked out.
Yeah.
Keep the numbers.
Yep. Now that checks, so that's anything to do with police checks, working with children checks, that sort of stuff. That's all kept in there too. Photo. Well, the only photos you'd have in here at the moment is probably the student ones. Yeah. Do you have staff ones that are kept?
We've got them on disc.
But you don't put them into. You don't want to put them in there because you can. Yeah.
I think they would like to.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can go in. Yep. Yep.
Well, not everyone used to have their photo taken.
Okay.
He was wanting to do ID cards and that for staff. So as well.
Okay. And then you've got the option about the photo permissions too. So what are they going to be? Yeah, so you can actually run reports on those to find out.
Fantastic.
Yep.
None of that information will come across because it's just on the spreadsheet.
Right. Okay.
Table of those that haven't got it.
Yeah. Okay.
So that'll just be a matter of going through.
Yeah. What you might be able to do though, if they've got, because they'll be linked to their Maze ID, won't they?
Will I just be able to give them a list of those
Give a list.
permission, and everyone else they can tick through for us?
Yeah, you could do that. Yep.
Because that's why I've got a list of
Yeah.
those who can't.
Those who can't. Yep. Yeah. And just
There's only a handful now.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Yep.
And then going forward, it'll be on the new application.
It'll be on the
And therefore, the ones they say
Yep.
yes, then it comes.
It comes through. Right? That's right. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
But going forward, for all of, we'd have to find out for the future students though too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, or for the first couple of years, we'd have to check that.
Or your current future students that you've got in now. Yeah. Yeah.
At least for the current students.
At least if you've got your get your current ones up to, that's right. Yeah, and then just get yeah, we can actually I can show you how to do a bulk anyway. We can, because what we could do is tag everyone.
Yeah.
And then delete and first of all fix the one. Did you say there's only like a handful that say no? Yeah. For those ones, we could fix them first. Yeah. We won't even get what's his name involved, Iris involved, because we could fix those, and then what we'd do is just tag everyone bar them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we can tag everyone and then just delete them from the tag list, and then we can go in and say, okay, photos permitted to be used for web. Tick that, and then we bulk load it. The next one, and then so we'll just have to do 3 bulk loads, and that's it. Yeah, cool.
And then that won't get undone when we do a live.
No, we'll do it. We'll wait till live. Oh, yeah. We'll wait till live, and we'll do it then. Yeah. It'll take us seriously probably 10-15 minutes.
No, fantastic.
So we'll get that done. Yep.
Perfect.
And we could even go into for the futures that. Will they not tell you until they come over?
No, because their application form's already in, so it's not on.
And it wasn't not on the application form. Okay, well, you can, like you said, you can wait until. Yeah. Yeah.
Roll in,
yeah.
It's just something to check.
Yep. Cool. Okay.
Can you, with the photo?
Yeah.
Some of ours say, like web. Okay, but they don't want to be on Facebook. Like they don't want to be on anything where it can be shared.
Mm-hmm.
So defiance there or not?
Well, what you can do, there's actually, well, you could relabel one of these. Okay, you could actually relabel all 3 if you wanted to. Okay, yep. It's just that we just got to remember that in the background, what they're called, and I'll show you this when we go through MS Query, because the actual, you just got to remember what the original field was called, which is easy to find that because it's not going to change. Okay, like with that, if I go Control-Shift-N on web, it'll come up as photo web flag. So that's always going to be called photo web flag. So when you run your report, that's what it's going to be called. But it might actually be called, Facebook or something. So or social media. Yeah. So you can rename those, relabel those.
What we have is without, like some of our out of home care kits.
Yep.
But they can't have photos with names attached.
Right. Okay. Yep. All right.
If there's names, then they can't.
Yeah. Okay. So that could be another one you can. Yeah. And there's also on the other tab, which I should have mentioned too. You've got these. No, not the other tab. The flags tab. Here it is. You've got some other flags. There's other flags here that you can create through user form. So you've got additional flags. Yeah. So you could even use them. So you've got addressees user flags, and then you've got community user flags. So they could even be included in the community user flags. Okay.
The keys.
The keys, yeah, yep. So your keys. So we'd just need a. Have you got a list of key codes at the moment? Yeah, just provide Iris with those, and then he can add them in as they can just be added as a lookup table. Yeah. So just ask if he can add the key codes as a lookup table.
And then those keys should come across for staff. that are already in the maze?
If they're in maze at the moment, yeah, and just ask them to match them up with what's in maze. Yeah. Yep. So that'll match up to their staff ID, and then we can,
reports
yeah.
And they can sign off.
Yep.
So they've got the keys when
Yeah.
they've returned.
Yep. Okay. Vehicles. So if you want to put any, that's, I don't know whether it's applicable or not, but like parking spaces and whether you need to know. I know registration.
Is that on students as well?
No, it's in community. Well, sorry, you could use it as, well, it could be used for students, but in their community record. So yeah, it is in a sense.
Our ones that have permission to drive.
Yeah.
They have to give us their rego details.
Okay, well, you can put their rego details in here.
If they're parked across the driveway and someone can't get their key out, know who we need to speak to. Correct?
Yep. So you could use that. Yeah, you could put that information in there, in their community record. Okay. So this one here, the household. So basically, what this says is, okay, these are the people that are in this particular household at the moment.
Yep.
So they're linked to that S. So occupants at address ID 3411,
Yep.
which is Mr's ID.
Yep.
Yep. So that's his address ID too, and then that's all of their address IDs. Yep. But if there was an instance, say for instance, if it was Mr. Archbold was actually working overseas or something, so he had so it's not a split family, it's just that he's working overseas, so we need to put in an address for him. Okay, so an additional address, or we could then give him his own address, so that's an alternative address. Yeah, but it wouldn't.
But that's not a split family.
That's not a split family. No.
Working overseas.
Yeah, that's right.
Theoretically, he's part of the household.
Yeah.
But he's
Yep.
often absent.
That's right. So you could give him his own address, but then all the others are still going to be linked to the original address there.
Okay, and we had a secondary who's here.
Yep.
His family has stayed up.
Oh yeah, the guy you're talking about that's still in Brisbane.
Yeah. So he would have his home address. There,
yep.
But we could give him his own address for while he was down here.
Yeah. Yep. So what's his surname?
Sanger. S-A-N-G-E-R.
That's Elliot there. Okay, so he comes in as a staff member. Okay, so it looks like at the moment there's no one actually linked to him.
No.
Okay, but we could, you could actually, would that be?
I was just wondering if we can therefore have both addresses in the system for his Queensland address.
Yeah, if we added, yep. So what we could do with that one, because it looks like we don't have any details at all of his family, but we could add his wife there with her address. So actually, we'd add her as a spouse first. So create her as a spouse, and we could put his new address as the primary address, and then we would go into that household tab and change her address to the Queensland one. Yeah. Yeah. So they're still in there as a married couple. It's just that she's at an alternative address. Yeah. Yep. Object. So that's part of that loan, bookings, asset register, etc. So loaning of, and not just for staff members too. So that's for students if there's anything loaned out to a student, and so that's checked in there. That's sales there, which won't allow me to go into it. But that's your uniform shop, that sort of stuff. Is that going on? No. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. Docman, the same as user form. So basically what this is, that's if there is any user forms that are created by the school, or Synergetics created the user forms for the school, they'll be listed here where you can click on them and go into them. Okay. But as far as if it's a user that needs to access that user form, they won't see the user form tab. They'll just see whatever that form that they need to get into is called. Yeah, it's only system admin that will see that going forward. Okay. maintenance, we went into that earlier. International, so there's your things like your citizenship, visa class, etc. For any international students, or you could keep that information for parents if you needed to, or staff. Okay. Memberships, so that memberships could be any type of membership really, you know. Might be memberships to a past students, alumni group or something like that. Okay. And the Action Centre, what that will show up with the Action Centre, see this up the top here, we've got this little blue flag, okay? And then it gives you a bit of a breakdown on what's what. So if there's a grey flag there, there's no messages, okay? So every person will have an Action Centre, okay? Every user, which may or may not have a message in there. If they don't have a message, it's just going to be grey. Okay, they'll still see that this box up here with a grey flag, greyed out flag. Okay, alerts. So if there's an alert, it's alerting them to information, then it'll be red. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to action that. It might be that they need to know about it, but they don't need to action it. Okay, a green flag is a task, so that's they need to complete this task, and that could be something like your basically with the online forms. Yeah. What would happen there is when that online form submitted, then the Action Centre triggers a task notification which is sent to the person who's been allocated that task. Okay, so there's a bit of work in the background to set it up. Yep. So then they would then, and you can set it up so they also get an email to say that there's a task waiting, which I usually recommend because it's then they'll know it's there. Yeah. Otherwise, they're just looking for the. It can, yep, it can go to more than one person as a task, and then as soon as one person actions it, the other person can't action it. Okay, they can read it, but they can't action it. Okay, or you can have for things like you might have a task and it might be information for someone else. So it might be information to their manager to say, yep, there's a task that's been allocated to Matt to complete. Okay, the same with my details on the community portal. When a parent updates their details or a student's details, that will trigger a yep. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep. And if it's medical related, you can even allocate that to say the health centre. Yep. Yep. So even if the parents updated the medical information at the same time, it still splits it. Yeah. Okay? From non-medical to medical. Yeah. And then you've got your blue flag, which is information. So the Action Centre here itself would be if there's anything that's waiting to be done for that particular community member. Yeah. Yep. But in here, if I clicked in there, this would be what's waiting in mine. Okay. At the moment, it's just change subscription, which comes up when they first put it into the system. Yeah. Okay. And then they can filter on what they want to see. Do they just want to see their tasks? Obviously, there's no tasks there at the moment, or they just want to see their information, etc. Yeah. Okay. There's a couple of extras here, like your involvement. So, yeah, just other things for their record. Attributes. So what attributes they have, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so if I went back into current parent, okay, And it also works back the other way. If you want to go from if you're in a community record, so if you're in a current parents record and you want to go into a student's record from there, okay, it's just a matter of clicking on their relations record, okay, so or double click into that record, and then you could go into their current student record. Okay, so that takes them to their community record, and then you just got to jump from there back to their community record. Sorry, back to their student record. And then if I needed to update that address, okay, if I was in the student's record and I needed to update that address, then I would go in. I can pick either mum and dad in this situation because it's been a nuclear family, and then I would actually go in here and change it in here. Okay, so if I change that to street. Okay, so you see it's changed it on the fly there. So that's in the student's record. Okay. As far as like there might be situations where you need to flip the spouse, okay, because it might be that mum's that they've decided that mum wants to receive the mail addressed to her only, and because we've got Mr. and Mrs., we need to flip the spouses so then we can make Mrs. the primary. Okay, so in this case here, Mr.'s the primary. If I was to click this primary tab or flag, what that does in this situation, once it allows me to click it, come on. Let's try it again. Okay, back to contacts. Come on. It's gone to sleep on me. Okay, so if we wanted to, say for instance, if they said, in this case, they said, oh, look, Benjamin wants to receive the mail just in his name, okay, for any reason, then we could, still thinking. It's not working on any of those. I'll start again. Unless they haven't set the, I might log in as SA. I don't know why they wouldn't allow us the permission to change that though, so we're in play.
So to ensure all these persons are loaded as they accurately or correctly to move across.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it as a task prior to Synergetic going live, or do you see it as a task post?
The more you can get done prior is going to help you during. Yeah.
So,
Is it 6 weeks?
so do we need to supply, again, just another set of eyes to assist in going through what we say there was in the community, 8,000 records.
Yeah, something like that.
8,000 records divided by 6 weeks divided by 5
Yeah,
days, 30 days.
There's lots to do, and not everything needs changing.
Oh no, that's right.
And there's checking mechanism. Once we know what's involved, then we can make those decisions.
Yeah.
Right, I'll try this again in current student.
But they go through what we need in first time each year.
Yeah.
And then what's the tasks?
Yeah,
Like Dennis will be, there will be stuff to do, and Dennis there was stuff to do. And it's like each, it's going to be work right now.
With the split families, because invariably what usually happens is you've got, they don't come across from the other system properly because they're in different fields, and so we usually, we check them one for one in live week once the live data's gone across. So usually what we do is get you to print out a list from Maze in this instance, and then we'll check that one for one because things like that obviously, and any legal, if there's any legal flags or anything, that sort of stuff. Medical at this stage, depends when we're going to go forward with that medical stuff. But yeah, the split families are, obviously it's important that we get that 100% correct.
And split families are the easy ones because we identify them in the way of our family codes with the X on them. We make them the same.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of someone knowing it's connected.
Mm-hmm.
They're side by side, with an X.
Oh.
So it's so easy, and that's what I'm saying. It's not a major panic in that sense.
I wish
pull the list straight out.
Wish all our clients did that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I did that when we changed the codes at one point, so they were together because I was sick of someone saying to me, "Who does so and so connect with?" So.
Well, we could even tell, unless he already knows. If Iris knows already, we tell him anyway because he could bring that. Yeah.
Like, if you go into
Davis, was it?
Yeah. It's not as difficult anymore.
Who's the child?
Well, Lucinda is with Mum.
Okay.
And Miles is with Dad.
All right, so we've got, where's our relations? So we've got Jean as the mum.
Yep. Lane, that's past June. Yep. Was Lucinda's brother. Yep. Glenn. See, Glenn's not the grandfather. Glenn is the father.
Okay, so that's come across incorrectly. Yeah. That's the other thing too. You're going to get, in those situations, you're going to get relationships coming across incorrectly where stepfathers will come.
Because a lot of the relationships aren't in Maze. But if we go through and fix Maze up before we do the live data, then it will more likely come across more correctly.
Yep. But even if it's a case of saying, Iris, anything that's got anyone who's got an X on it, that means that they're the alternate family. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's how I set it up
cool.
last time. So hopefully that will help.
Yeah.
In the checking process, and the fact that you've got a list and then they're together.
Yep. So if we went into Glenn's community record.
Yep.
Then under his other tab. No, they haven't come across yet though, have they? The Maze codes.
Doesn't look like
as yet.
I know. Network login, DAV004.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's his family code.
That's his family code? Yep. So where is the X usually?
So that's because
the other code would be AV004.
Like Gina's would be D.
Oh, so the wife's in this case would be X. Is it usually the wife's that's X, or it just depends on who the kid's living with, or who's getting the debt?
Yeah,
Who's it?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so if we went into Gina's,
then actually,
yeah, there you go. So there's their X there.
so therefore they're connected. Right.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we do that.
Cool.
And
It might even be
sometimes-
worth us saying to Iris to move them out of network login and put them into, say, barcode.
Yeah.
Because we'll need this network login.
Yes.
We may need that going forward for the community
Yeah.
portal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is button that again. That's fine.
No worries.
Again, I suppose what I want to encourage you, don't feel that you've got to do this
Oh,
alone.
no, I want to be able to do everything on my own, but it's a matter of finding out what, and then hopefully it'll happen.
So certainly try and resource it as best we can.
But once again, it has to be someone that knows
Well, even if
families.
it's
It's a
outside
Kate and I possibly
yeah.
with that one because of the debtor side of things, and so the two of us probably know the connections the best. But you know, you can't put a I'm not having to go in, you can't put a Joe Ryan in that because they don't necessarily know the connections. Can't put a Vicky in chat in as you know when there's surplus. I mean, when people work, you can't just add those things in just for the sake of it. Thank you.
Yeah, they've locked these flags for some reason, so I can't even click on those. But what's meant to happen there is when I click on primary, that would then suppress Mrs. and you just have Mr. A. Davis there.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that usually your male salutation where it's Mr. and Mrs. and then if they've got the same surname and then it's the
That's what we
okay, so that's cool. Okay, I didn't know whether
how it was.
Right.
It would have been
Mr. O and Mrs. O and yep. Okay, and Mrs. A. Sorry, Mr. O and Mrs. Mr. A and Mrs. O Davis.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been in the past, but you've changed that, have you? Yeah, okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that they've got that correct.
Yeah, no,
so that would have been in that implementation manual.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously, if they've got separate surnames, then it's going to be, if this case, if it was Andrew Fay and Ms. A. Davis, then it'd be Mr. A. Fay and and Ms. A. Davis.
Yeah. Well, that's what we elected to do.
Cool.
Husbands and wives swapping and changing.
Yeah.
Or hyphenating.
Oh, it's just, and the trouble is when you had two long ones and then you have to type in A and D, you can't just use the ampersand, then it just meant that names got cut off and then you get trouble
because they're cut off, yeah.
So I thought, good idea, so we're more likely to keep it, we're more likely to keep most people happy.
All right, Hugh.
Thanks.
No worries. See you later. So if I wanted to, if it was a case of, all right, Mrs. Davis has rang or Mr. Davis rang and said, look, can we send everything to Olivia from now on in her name? Okay. Even if he's, they're both still debtors and so forth, but, as far as the male name goes, all we do there is go into either one. We can go into Andrew or Olivia. And then up the top here, you've got this option here to flip spouse. Okay, so if we click on that, okay, and it just says that by doing this flip, you're indicating that Mrs. O. Davis is now the primary person in the relationship and joint correspondence will be addressed primarily to them. And if there's any future and or current students who have Mr. A. Davis as a contact, you may set this to Mrs. O. Davis if you wish. So that's the other one here. So that's defaulted to that. So if I click on OK and they've got any, and there's siblings, then it'll do it for every single sibling.
Okay. It does it for the billing contact as well?
It does it for the billing contact would have to be done. Yeah, that would have to be done manually. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So I think that's the reason why that it's not an automatic. So if I flip that, you'll see now that he's the spouse.
Yep.
Okay, and it's Mrs. O. Davis. Okay, and if I went back into, there we go. So Mrs. O. Davis and Mr. A. Davis now, it's changed to, okay, as the contact name. But then we would have to change that. That should, because we had it before as Mr. O. Davis, and yeah.
So when you do it that way,
So when you do it,
puts them both in.
but if we're doing that, if we're doing that for the purposes of, the only reason we're doing that is because we want to suppress him.
Okay.
So when we suppress him, then that's the reason it's done, because then it's Mrs. O. Davis. See, before it didn't have the O, yeah. So as soon as we suppress him, I don't know why that's not. Yeah, as soon as we suppress him, it'll just be here, contact name Mrs. O. Davis.
Okay.
We'd still have Olivia and Andrew down here,
Yep.
and he would still be here as the father and as her spouse in the community record. Okay, so
is flipping them and suppressing them the same sort of thing?
no, because if we just suppress, well, to suppress whoever's the primary now, if you want to suppress them so they're not included, you need to flip them first, because you want Mrs. to be the primary, and then once you flipped her to primary, you can then suppress him. Yep. And the same if you were going to split. So if you wanted to split them, okay, you've got this break spouse link. Okay, so it's just a matter of going like that. You can put in there is ex-partner, ex-husband, etc. if you wanted, or you could leave it blank. It's up to you. And it'll just say, again, it'll say that if there's any current and or future and or past students in the system, then what will happen? It'll do it to all of them. Yeah. Which you would expect, because they're all linked to that. Yeah. So when you break the links there, we're only in play, remember, so it's okay. Now you'll see the first thing you'll see is that there's no spouse, no partner, okay. Mrs. O. Davis, and we've got create spouse down here. So instead of show spouse, it says create spouse. Then when we go into here, it creates a contact 2. So he's now being created as contact 2. They're still at the same address at this stage because we haven't changed the address, okay? But we wouldn't have to, if she was still, if say for instance he was the primary before we split them, she would go into SC2, okay, and he would be SC1. But it's just a matter of, we don't have to flip them because we can just go into here and choose who's going to be the SC1, okay. So if we go, Mr.'s going to be SC1, it'll just flip them around there. Okay, and then you could say, you can have there that they live with both, as long as they've chosen one, as there's one there that it's for one of the government surveys or something. They need DEST, something I think it's called. They need to have the student needs to have a primary address. So we just say, well, that's the SC1. Yeah. Even if they're living 50-50. Yeah. Okay. And if it was a case of, say, if there was if there was a court order in place here, he's obviously, if you had, so if the court order was on Dad, okay, you wouldn't have the Liz with. If you still got it, but you've still got his details there, you keep them on there, but you just get rid of the mail and reports flag, and then you'd obviously have your court order flag up there too. Yeah. But yeah, as you'd probably be aware, there's going to be things that we pick up this week and and following weeks. That's what I was going to check too, that timetable import. There is one from Maze. Excellent. Okay. So do you have access to the exported data from Maze for timetable, or could you get your hands on that? Could I get you to send it to me, please? And then I can play around with that and get it in there before Wednesday.
Okay. So just a full timetable?
Just a full timetable, yeah. It looks like it's, what's it wanted in? Yeah, it'd probably come out in, even if you send it in, yeah, just send it probably in text or CSV. Whatever it comes in, I can always change it anyway. Yeah, so just a full timetable. You've got my email address, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if you want to send that to me and I'll play around with it, get it, because it's just better to have it in there when when we go through the classes and stuff like that, because you've got meaningful data in there then at least. Yeah. Cool. Because we can do one directly from Maze. There's a timetabler one there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once when the direct integration happens, that just flows through, and you can choose what times of the day you want that to happen to. And if anything happens after that time, you can still put a manual one through anyway. You can still, you can still sync it. Um, so tomorrow morning, are you coming to the security one? Good. Yeah. Yeah. So you'll be involved in setting up all the groups and everything. Yeah. Are you with the IT guys? Or you are now? Oh, okay. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. October last year, they moved me down there.
Right. So okay. So that's Amber and Rod?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. And there's two more too. There's Paul and Wayne, and then we've got Clinton on help desk.
Yep.
And Steve as well. So
okay. Oh, good.
the main database.
All right.
Well, I think Wayne's coming tomorrow as well because he's sort of got his back up. So.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So I'll take you through all the, how we set up the groups and yeah. It's worth setting up as I know the time will fly, but it's worth setting up as many groups as you can between now and live, and we can have another online session anyway because so then we can get those, because if we set them up in validation, because as SA you can do editing in validation, then we can get Iris to put them across before live. Cool. And what's the plan as far as authentication goes? Is there going to be Windows authentication, or because I noticed that a lot of people got Macs?
Yeah, I think it's Windows.
It's Windows.
Because I can just
and they'll go through Parallels.
But most of them can just use the web.
Yeah, they can, unless they're working. If you're working on future students or things like that, you're going to still have to use the main database.
Yeah.
Teachers and stuff, they're going to be using the school box anyway. But the majority, the ones that are going to get ones that want to get their hand dirty.
Marketing here this morning, they basically just want to be able to extract data and check photo emissions.
Well, they can do that in the web. Yep.
Kim Brissett is probably the backup to me, so she needs.
Okay.
So she's got a desktop though, so she's
right. So she's all right. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Amber only has a Mac, but she wouldn't get her hands dirty in the database. Like she has no desire.
Okay. What about setting up accounts and stuff like that? Will she be involved in that?
Probably me rather than.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay. And you've got a PC?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you and Rob will be okay.
But I can use it through Parallels.
Yeah. Well, if you got Parallels anyway.
Parallels. Trish's got a PC, so she's right. Miriam has got a PC, and she'll need it because once we work out how we're going to do all this, we'll have to be able to do that. Student services have all got PCs.
Mm-hmm.
Timmy's got a PC, she's got a MacBook, but she's got a PC, so most of them have PCs.
Okay, yep.
Admin didn't traditionally get the MacBook works.
Right.
Yeah, so it'd be good to have one so that when teachers can't do something, I actually know,
What they, yeah, that's right, yeah.
But yeah, I very rarely use that at work.
Okay.
I mainly use it if I'm trying to replicate
Yep.
an issue that they have do I use PCs?
Okay.
And finance will use PCs.
Yeah, okay, cool. So the ones that are wanting to extract information, like the marketing girls, they can, because you've got Crystal reports available through the web, or they could, if they're going to start creating.
It's more the MS queries.
Okay, I was going to say, if they start creating MS queries, well, they don't actually need access to they'll just need access to the views within Synergetic, but they don't need access to Synergetic through Windows to be able to run those PCs. To be able to run those queries, and they'll have Excel on there. Yeah, on their Macs. Cool. Okay. Yeah, sounds pretty good.
But yeah, so that I'm able to design all my reports, which currently I have to do. I think it'd be great if they can do this queries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really supposed to reports in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to go through today in particular? Because we had that, well, we've been doing a bit of validation anyway as we go along, so that's what I usually say, like they say, put it in the schedule, and but we usually do that on day one anyway, because people pick things up. All right.
So did they give you a workbook or a list that I need to check and work through between here and there?
Yep. So there's an actual, I'll send it through to you. There's a what we call, I'll show you what it looks like. I'll send it through to you today.
Okay.
So you got this trial data validation spreadsheet. Okay, and so the pages there, the actual pages, what they are is they're references to the pages in the workbooks, in the training manuals, which I'll send you that link through. There's two separate ones, one for non-finance, one for finance. So I'll include that in the same email. Then you've got, so basically there's the main instructions there. It goes through problem detection, issue reporting, how to send them back, any example checks, etc. Then that's just a checklist. These are the reports that, so they're the reports that we can check off. General ledger, so there's your, Okay, and then for each module, you've got a tab here. So current student maintenance, it'll say, okay, the personal tab, what areas are in there, and what reports you can actually run to check those areas if you want to run a report rather than check it off at the screen, and it goes through contacts, tabs, etc. And that goes, And if there's things there that aren't applicable, obviously don't worry about them. Generally, just say payroll's not, so you won't worry about payroll there. Yeah. Okay. And these exercises, they're just, for staff if they want to start playing around, and they can look through the workbooks and, Cool. But I'll forward that through to you, and I'll forward through that list of the links that'll give you a list of those workbooks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah. Excellent. Because I can play around with that and have it in there for Wednesday. Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, I'll need to come and sign out too, won't I? Is it all right? Yeah. That's cool. I'll give you that. All right. Well, I've got a few emails to check and stuff, so I'll do that back at the
Yeah.
hotel. Yeah.
No worries at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think tomorrow, was it? I think we're starting at 9. It was 9, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I'll just come to the. Are we back in here tomorrow? Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'll come to the front desk again, and then cool. Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
No worries. Yeah. I'll say this. How long have you had the cold for?
Only a week.